I guess I'm next. I should never have come here.
Good Boy is a new horror flick that hit theaters this past weekend. The film is directed by Ben Leonberg, and this film is unique in that instead of telling the story from the human perspective, this film actually tells the story from the perspective of a golden retriever named Indy. The film then goes on to ask the question, what is your pet staring at in the middle of the night in the dark corner of your home? Are they just curious about things that go bump in the night, or is there something supernatural in that corner? And with that concept, I got pretty excited for this movie. It sounded like something unique and something fresh within the horror genre. So let's do the review for Good Boy.
Here we go.
That is one big pile of shit.
No, I shot him. Bullets in the fall killed him.
So Good Boy opens up in an apartment where we're introduced to the main star of our film, a golden retriever named Indy. And as Indy looks around the room, you start to hear the muffled breathing of someone else in the room, and you start to see something growing in the corner. As the muffled breathing gets louder and as Indy's attention is drawn to the couch, you see Indy's owner named Todd, played by Shane Jensen, sitting on the couch as he's barely able to breathe and blood seems to be dripping out of his face. And again, something is growing in the corner of this room. Something supernatural seems to be coming out of that corner, maybe even making its way towards Todd. And just as things seem to be extremely dark, as this presence seems to be reaching out for Todd, as Indy sits there helpless, not sure what to do, while the door of the apartment opens, the supernatural thing in the corner seems to go away, and Todd's breathing gets a little better as Todd's sister, named Anya, runs into the room to help Todd to make sure that he's okay. She calls an ambulance, and as it turns out, Todd is very sick and seems to be getting sicker. We then skip to Todd being released from the hospital. You see him and Indy take their stuff from the apartment that they lived in New York City as Todd makes his way to his late grandfather's house, which is located in a remote area in the woods. Through telephone calls between Todd and his sister, or Todd and the doctors, it seems that Todd's condition is just getting worse, and he may have come out to this cabin to die just like his late grandfather. While all of this is going on, remember, we're seeing this film from the perspective of Indy, and so we're only getting snippets of these conversations, but one thing we are getting full view of is this presence that seems to have followed them from that apartment to this house located in the woods. And at first it's subtle, it's in the corners, but then it starts to get bolder and it starts to get closer to Todd, and it seems like Indy is the only thing between this evil presence and his owner Todd. And that is the best synopsis that I can give you for Good Boy. If that sounds like a fun time, well, this film is currently in theaters and you can check it out there. Now I'm going to get into my positives and my negatives for Good Boy here in a second, but before I do that, if this is the first time you found my channel, well, I would love for you guys to hit that subscribe button, check out all the different content on my channel, whether you like movie reviews, Blu-ray talk, or even ranked list videos. I've got a little bit of everything on my channel and I'd love for you guys to check it out. All right, let's get into my positives and my negatives for Good Boy. My first and unfortunately only positive for this movie is going to be the great performance that we got out of that dog named Indy. I don't know how you train a dog to show so many emotions throughout this movie, but he truly shines. If this movie was going for showing you the emotions of a pet, I think it did that in a great way. Indy looks scared when he needs to look scared. He looks protective when he needs to look protective. He looks like a great, fun, loving dog when he needs to look like a fun, loving dog. Again, they're able to draw so many emotions out of this dog, and I think they do it so damn well. So while this is my only positive, it is a huge positive because without Indy, I don't think any of this movie would have worked for me, and I think that Indy gave a great performance throughout this film. But like I said before, that's my only positive for this movie, so unfortunately we do have to move on to my negatives now, and my first negative for this movie is going to be the human performances throughout this film. While I think Indy gave a great performance and I really bought into the emotions that Indy was able to sell me, I thought the exact exact opposite about the very few human characters that were in this movie. Whether it was the sister or the grandfather on some old VHS tapes or a weird hunter guy that was in the woods, I didn't find any of them believable. And then you get to the only other main star of this film that's basically feeding off of Indy throughout this movie, the character of Todd, played by Shane Jensen, and I didn't find his character very believable either. There's a moment towards the end of this movie where Todd reaches out to Indy and says, "You've been a good dog," and that's exactly how he delivers the line, and it was unintentionally really funny when he said that. And again, I didn't believe the performance from any of the human actors in this movie. My next negative for this movie is going to be the overall story of this film being a bit disappointing. While I was going into this movie expecting a horror film, what does my pet see in the corner of the room? Like, that's an interesting concept to get into. Telling the story from the perspective of the dog, again, an interesting way to tell that story. I feel like the movie, without spoiling things, starts to lean away from horror in this film and get into the concept of what it feels like as a dog to lose your owner. And that's not really the movie that was sold to me, so that felt very disappointing. On top of that disappointment, that actually leads to my next negative of this film, and that's the execution of this story. Because while I think there might be an interesting concept there, what a dog experiences when it loses its owner, the movie feels very wash, rinse, repeat, as the film shows Todd getting sick, Indy having a nightmare vision, which then leads to you, the viewer, getting jump scared, to then cutting back to Todd as he gets sicker, and Indy having another nightmare vision, which then leads to you, the viewer, getting jump scared, and they just repeat this process for the full 73 minutes. And while I would love to be on this video saying, man, I'm so happy they gave us a 73-minute movie, I am very happy with that, somehow they made that 73 minutes feel like a really long time in the theater, because they had this interesting concept, and I feel like that's all they had. Because when they gave us the story, it was just wash, rinse, repeat. It was sick owner, nightmare vision, jump scare, repeat. Sick owner, nightmare vision, jump scare, repeat. And it just continues like that till the very end of this movie. Overall, as much as I liked the idea of this film and the concept of telling this film from the dog's perspective, this was a film that just didn't work for me. And I know they were going for some deeper concepts other than just scaring the audience, but I think the execution of those concepts just fell completely flat. So unfortunately, this is not a movie I would recommend. But guys, those are just my opinions, because this is my review for Good Boy. Have you guys had a chance to see this film yet? If you have, let me know in the comment section down below. Let me know your favorite part of this movie, your least favorite part, where we agree or disagree. I love hearing from you guys in that comment section. Finally, guys, if you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button, because it helps the video, it helps the channel, and it helps me right here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Alright guys, we got to the end of my review for Good Boy. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I didn't have a great time watching this movie, but I did have a great time making this review, even though I'm stuck in a hotel room for work. But with that said, if you want to check out any of the other content on my channel, well, I've got all of my horror movie reviews right there, and I've got all of my 2025 movie reviews right there.